Welcome back. I have some very sad news. Mr. Midnight has disappeared. I do not know where or when he will be back. So we will have to do this without him. He will be back sooner or later. He does this quite often. Today we will be looking at some creepypastas. Well, a certain creepypasta, the Rake. But before we do, make sure you like and subscribe if you think the Rake is real. Now let's begin. The Rake is widely known as a creature with a distinctive appearance, featuring a bald head, pale skin, and glowing eyes that stare straight into the camera. This creature has become a staple in creepypasta, appearing in various settings and stories written by different authors. In 2003, there were reports of a strange human-like creature in the northeastern US, which briefly gained local media attention before all information about it was mysteriously wiped out. Most accounts of the creature were erased from both online and written sources. The sightings took place primarily in rural New York, and witnesses claimed to have encountered an unknown creature. These encounters range from fear-inducing to playful and curious. Although the published accounts are no longer available, the memories remain vivid. In 2006, a group of individuals who had experienced these sightings joined forces to search for answers and collected over 24 documents from various continents dating back to the 12th century. All with similar stories. Let's delve into these stories. A Suicide Note, 1964. As I prepare to take my life, I feel it necessary to assuage any guilt or pain I have introduced through this act. It is not the fault of anyone other than him. For once, I awoke and felt his presence, and once I awoke and saw his form. Once again, I awoke and heard his voice and looked into his eyes. I cannot sleep without fear of what I might next awake to experience. I cannot ever wake. Goodbye. This was found in the same wooden box where 2 empty envelopes addressed to William and Rose were found, and 1 loose personal letter with no envelope. Dearest Lily, I have prayed for you. He spoke your name. A journal entry translated from Spanish in the 1880. I have experienced the greatest terror. I have experienced the greatest terror. I have experienced the greatest terror. I see his eyes when I close mine. They are hollow, black. They saw me and pierced me. His wet hand, I will not sleep. His voice. A Mariner's Log, 1691. He came to me in my sleep. From the foot of my bed, I felt a sensation. He took everything. We must return to England. We shall not return here again at the request of the Rake. The Rake, from a witness, 2006. 3 years ago, I had just returned from a trip from Niagara Falls with my family for the 4th of July. We were all very exhausted after a long day of driving, so my husband and I put the kids right to bed and called it a night. At about 4 a.m, I woke up thinking my husband had gotten up to use the restroom. I used the moment to steal back the sheets, only to wake him in the process. I apologized and told him I thought he got out of bed. When he turned to face me, he gasped and pulled his feet up from the end of the bed so quickly his knee almost knocked me out of the bed. He then grabbed me and said nothing. After adjusting to the dark for half a second, I was able to see what caused the strange reaction. At the foot of the bed, sitting and facing away from us, there was what appeared to be a naked man, or a large, hairless dog of some sort. Its body position was disturbing and unnatural, as if it had been hit by a car or something. For some reason, I was not instantly frightened by it, but more concerned as to its condition. At this point, I was somewhat under the assumption that we were supposed to help him. My husband was peering over his arm and knee, tucked into the fetal position, occasionally glancing at me before returning to the creature. In a flurry of motion, the creature scrambled around the side of the bed and then crawled quickly in a flailing sort of motion right along the bed until it was less than a foot from my husband's face. The creature was completely silent for about 30 seconds, just looking at my husband. The creature then placed his hand on his knee and ran into the hallway leading to the kids' room. I screamed and ran for the light switch, planning to stop him before he hurt my children. When I got to the hallway, the light from the bedroom was enough to see it crouching and hunched over about 20 feet away. He turned around and looked directly at me, covered in blood. I flipped the switch on the wall and saw my daughter, Clara. The creature ran down the stairs while my husband and I rushed to help our daughter. She was very badly injured and spoke only once more in her short life. She said, "He is the rake." My husband drove his car into a lake that night while rushing our daughter to the hospital. He did not survive. Being a small town, news got around pretty quickly. The police were helpful at first, and the local newspaper took a lot of interest as well. However, the story was never published, and the local television news never followed up either. For several months, my son Justin and I stayed in a hotel near my parents' house. After we decided to return home, I began looking for answers myself. I eventually located a man in the next town over who had a similar story. We got in contact and began talking about our experiences. He knew of 2 other people in New York who had seen the creature we now refer to as the rake. It took us 4 of us about 2 solid years of hunting on the internet and writing letters to come up with a small collection of what we believe to be the accounts of the rake. None of them gave any details, history or follow-ups. One journal had an entry involving the creature in its first 3 pages and never mentioned it again. A ship's log explained nothing of the encounter, saying only that they were told to leave by the rake. That was the last entry in the log. There were, however, many instances where the creature's visit was one of a series of visits with the same person. Multiple people also mentioned being spoken to, my daughter included. This led us to wonder if the rake had visited any of us before our last encounter. I set up a digital recorder near my bed and left it running all night. Every night for 2 weeks, I would tediously scan through the sounds of me rolling around in my bed each day when I woke up. By the end of the 2nd week, I was quite used to the occasional sound of sleep while blurring through the recording at 8 times the normal speed. On the first day of the 3rd week, I thought I heard something different. What I found was a shrill voice. It was the rake. I can't listen to it long enough to even begin to transcribe it. I haven't let anyone listen to it yet. All I know is that I've heard it before, and I now believe that it spoke when it was sitting in front of my husband. I don't remember hearing anything at the time, but for some reason, the voice on the recorder immediately brings me back to that moment. The thoughts that must have gone through my daughter's head make me very upset. I have not seen the rake since he ruined my life, but I know that he has been in my room while I slept. I know and fear that one night I'll wake up to see him staring at me. The rake is a mysterious creature known for its ghostly appearance and strange behavior. With its pale skin, large fanged and taloned mouth, and bulbous eyes, the rake is often depicted as a mutated dog-like creature that stalks its prey in the woods or forested areas. However, with the widespread popularity of the rake, its habitat and behaviors have become less defined, and it is now commonly portrayed as appearing in more urban areas, even in people's bedroom at night. The appearance of the rake is distinctive and intriguing, featuring large reflective eyes, a drooping jaw with a fang-filled mouth, and either a missing or skull-like nose. It is typically shown as naked and crawling on all fours, which suggests that it prefers to stalk its prey like a quadruped animal, even though it is capable of standing on two legs. The origins and development of the rake's appearance are linked directly to the myth and an image that once even fueled mainstream media. The rake is a mythical creature that originated from an anonymous poster's suggestion on a 4chan thread in 2005. The creature was developed and manipulated by several users, and its description went through multiple changes before settling on its current form. The first story featuring the rake was published on Brain Somerville's blog in 2006. The rake became more popular after appearing on various forums and platforms like LiveJournal, Something Awful, 4chan, the paranormal subreddit, and creepypasta forums. The widely shared image of the Berwick monster, often associated with the rake, was actually a hoax meant to be a depiction of a creature from the video game Resistance 3. The image was later picked up by mainstream media outlets, but it appeared after the story and discussions about the rake's appearance had already been established. Well, my fellow horror enthusiasts, I hope this fulfilled your desire, fulfilled your craving for horror. I am sorry that Mr. Midnight wasn't here, but he'll be here soon, I'm sure. But, I'll say his favorite catchphrase. I'll see you again very soon. So until then, love the darkness, as it always follows.